I've done some research on the baby in yellow to see what else I can make videos about, and other than the fact that nobody makes lore videos, I found that there is a lot of content claiming to show all Easter eggs, and then they don't show any of the Easter eggs. That being said, get ready for a lover of the Lovecraftian laying out a long list with lots of lovely secrets. I mean secrets. Starting in the initial apartment, we find the books The Lake of Harley, A Visitor's Guide, Mysteries of the Hyades, and Reputations and How to Repair Them, which are all nods to The King in Yellow, written by Robert W. Chambers and a huge influence on H.P. Lovecraft. On one of the cupboards in the kitchen we find the books See No Cooking, Hear No Cooking and Speak No Cooking, which refers to the three wise monkeys and the all too familiar phrase See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Another book is titled The Only Cookbook You'll Ever Need Volume 2, which I find very amusing. There are crayon drawings on the fridge that change every night to represent one of the three possible game endings. On night 1, we can see drawings of a sheep, a bottle and a nappy, a pacifier in the sad yellow face, and a stick figure in a triangle with a spiral. On night 2 there is a black cat, a person in a house that seems to be illuminated from the back, 3 different colored vials, and a person wearing a crown sitting on a chair. Finally, on the 3rd night we see a white rabbit with red eyes, some keys and a lock, a crying person next to a closed door, and a yellow creature with pincer-like appendages protruding from its head. It also has red eyes and sharp-looking hands. There is a recorder in the pantry that talks about Hester and Casilda, who are both characters in The King in Yellow and potentially parents to the baby in yellow. It also talks about cloud waves rolling in and breaking on the walls, which is paraphrasing a line from Casilda's song. In the baby's room we find the book How to Dream Like a King, which is likely another reference to The King in Yellow. We also find the book The Underworld, which might hint that the king is actually the devil. We can also find the book Stories for Creepy Children, which I don't think is a nod to anything, but it is pretty funny. The letters on the alphabet blocks, which are just under the shelf, spell arrive. On the opposite side of the room, we see yet another book titled Crayon Art Through the Ages, which might suggest that the baby is smarter than we think and perhaps a connoisseur of fine crayon art. In the parents' bedroom, we see post-its on the wall suggesting it's June, since one of them reads Need a sitter June 3rd. However, the notes below suggest it's May. They read 01/05 Jack, 02/05 Elliot, 03/05 ? Even more perplexing, the calendar on the left has the page for December up. Looking at the other post-its, we see the phone numbers of Robert C., which could refer to Robert W. Chambers, who wrote The King in Yellow, and somebody named Camilla, who also appears in Chambers' famous writing. We also see a crude drawing of a cat, 2 crowns and a red eye, all of which might be foreshadowing of the Black Cat ending. Partially covered by all this is a note reading Order Toasty 4000. As we move our focus to the desk, we see the books Color with Confidence and 365 Days of Illustrations, as well as drawings of the cat, the sheep, and the prince from the Bedtime storybooks. These suggest that one of the parents is an author of kids' books and reads the baby in yellow their own stories at night. The nightstand has a copy of Twin Suns and Strange Moons on it, a nod to Lost and dim Carcosa. In the attic we find paintings that are very well executed yet incredibly horrifying. They hint to the painter R.U. Pickman, who first appeared in the short story Pickman's Model by H.P. Lovecraft. Furthermore, the scribbles at the end of the room are very reminiscent of the early Slender Man games. The last bedtime story, The Prince and the Sheep, shows a toy doctor in bed with the baby. Yet another possible reference to the story The Color Out of Space is in the picture of the sheep getting eaten by the baby. The frantically scribbled word Hester all over the last page of the book refers to Hester from The King in Yellow. It is a very popular opinion that Hester is the King in Yellow, yet neither Chambers nor Lovecraft ever alluded to this in any way. Continuing to the White Rabbit path, we see red eyes floating around the kitchen table as if they were a family casually having dinner, and more of them fixated on the TV. They are the only eyes we find not looking at us. We then go to the apartment of A. Pickman, which is a nod to Pickman's Model. I've already made a detailed video on this, so we won't linger here too long. However, I want to address the fact that there are yellow sign magnets on the fridge, as well as some symbols that I do not know the meaning of, and the bed seems well kept compared to the rest of the abode. Also, apartment 508, next to a Pickman, has a slight tinge of green on the number, and when the scenery changes, it has the baby's black, stuff seemingly growing out of the bottom of it. In the electric room, we find a hole in the ceiling where disembodied red eyes are looking down on us. After we escaped the baby in its eldritch form, we get sucked into a monotonous loop of feeding and changing it in the apartment, and potentially a second loop if we actually take the baby to bed. At some point, the rabbit will write "Don't" on the painting behind the high chair. There is still more to find in the Black Cat part of the game, so there will be another video on the latest update to the game. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you found any Easter eggs that I have missed. And have a good day, or whatever. Here's something else that YouTube thinks you like. I have some very mural stuff to do, so please leave my office now.